So we just had the panel on the Swedish market and how sustainability is a stronger factor in Sweden than maybe some other of the international markets. Italian wines are very, very strong in Sweden, especially Italian red wines are over 25% of the wines sold by volume. And what we see is that a lot of the Italian wines that have big positions are slightly sweet, sold as dry wines, slightly sweet, Passamento style wines. But of course, Sweden has a good relationship to Italy and Italian food cultures, so also the better wines do well. One thing that I think is important if you were going to establish yourself in the Swedish market is really to work thoroughly to find the right importer for your brand. The right size importer, an importer who will help you understand the monopoly, who will help you understand the purchasing process, because it's a very set process to submit to a tender, and your importer can work you through that. So find the right importer. If you are working organically but you're not certified, it is an advantage to get certified because the monopoly only recognize certified organic wine. And in Sweden, actually, we're approaching 20% of wine sold by volume as organic. There's no negative connotation for organic, rather the other way around. The consumer is demanding it now. Another thing I think is important and interesting is that bag-in-box wines in Sweden are 55% of wines sold by volume. 55% in bag-in-box. And there's no negative connotation for the consumer for bag-in-box as a package. So even if you have a fine wine brand, for example, Allegrini and Ricasoli are very successful fine wine brands in Sweden, but they also have box wines. So that becomes an entry for the consumer who might buy a box for the weekday, and then they will go with the same brand in a higher category for a fine wine for the weekend or for entertaining guests. So there's nothing negative about having a box wine in Sweden. What else is important? I think it is important to understand Systembolagets sustainability profiling. They ask now from next vintage, from the 2016 vintage, they will ask for lightweight bottles. Any bottle that weighs over 420 grams will have a penalty. This is really to reduce carbon footprint. It's a very important initiative that can actually be a financial benefit to the producer as well, because as Teresa Breuer just said, for her it has reduced her packaging cost and shipping costs and of course the carbon footprint. So there are interesting things happening in the Swedish market. It's a very good market once you're established, but you have to think long term and you have to be a little bit flexible. It might take you 10 years to get a good foothold, but once you have it, it's an easy market to maintain and a good market to sell in.